I am so sorry. I forgot to bring the microphone up. Hey, Steve, how you going? Oh, that is shocking. Rookie mistake. Sorry, I completely forgot to bring the microphone across. I'm gonna have to re-explain what I'm doing, surely, which is good because because I was sort of rambling a bit. Okay, let's try this again. What I'm going to be doing in this stream is going to be working on the community coding challenge, which I've got in my Discord. If you don't know about that, there's a link in the description to join the Discord, and we've got a monthly challenge where we do a random topic and we try and make something from it. It's a very loose challenge, and yeah, it's a bit of fun. So this month's challenge is Swarm. And what I'm going to be trying to do is some weird stuff with shaders to make the swarm happen. And basically, my idea is to store the information for some particles in an image so that we can update them with a shader to make updating a whole bunch of particles really fast. And the way that that is going to work is that we pack a float into a pixel, because each of the color channels of a pixel is 256, can hold 256 values, so a 1 byte. So all four of them together, we get 4 bytes, which is the equivalent of a float. And so then what I can do is I can divide the image up into 4 quadrants. So if we imagine this pixel at the top here, in this top left quadrant, that will hold the X position. In the top right quadrant, we can hold the Y position and then the velocity down the bottom, so that we know we can just offset from this position half the image size to get the Y position and half the image size down to get the velocity, and then half in both direction to get the Y velocity. So we can figure out all the data we need inside the shader. So this is sort of the plan on what we're going to be doing, and I drew up a bit of a diagram on the steps involved. So the first bit here is going to be initializing the position and velocity, and then we can figure out how we're going to display all these particles. This is going to be a bit tricky, which is why I got all these question marks here, because I think that you can do some stuff that makes sense with geometry shaders, but I don't know how to do that, and I especially don't know how to do that in P5.js, so we might have to investigate. Worst case scenario, though, I will just loop through a quarter of the image and we'll display all the particles that way. Once we've got them initialized and displaying, we're going to be updating them, and that will be done in a different shader from the initialization, and that will update the inputs to the shader. So I'll have to figure out some frame buffer sort of stuff to get the information back into the shader, and then I will also need to update the position and velocity. And then once we've got something working there, we're going to update the update function to incorporate the swarm functionality. And my thinking there is that I'll pass in the mouse position and we'll try and get all these particles to swarm the mouse. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do. Thank you, Steve, so much for letting me know that my mic was not working. I hope you have a nice dinner and hopefully see you in a bit. And Half, how are you going? Hopefully there will be some cool spectacles as well. And by spectacles, I'm assuming you're meaning something interesting to look at, not glasses, because I do not wear glasses. So before my microphone was on and I was talking essentially just to myself, I was saying how I've basically got the very bare bones set up here. So I've got an initialize fragment shader, which has nothing in the main function, but I've just got 2 functions for packing and unpacking floats. Oh, dude, a monocle would be sick. I would love to have a monocle. That would be fun. But yeah, so I've got just 2 empty shaders set up at the moment, both just with the pack and unpack float function in them. I think I was rambling to myself before the microphone was on that I think this might give me some grief here. So P5.js, if you turn the alpha off on a pixel, then it just ignores the red, green, and blue channels, which means that you lose a lot of information. So this here could potentially be problematic, because what I'm doing is I'm making sure that there's at least a little bit of alpha, but that can screw with the actual value that you're packing into the float. So I might have to change this. And in fact, I think maybe what I should do is make that the R and that the A, so that we are storing the smaller bits in the alpha channel, so it's less impactful, I think. Maybe. Why am I doing... Why... RGB. I'm doing some weird stuff. Expired milk. Hello, how are you going? RGBA. Okay. RGBA. So these just have to be consistent. And actually, I need to copy these to the other function as well. So let us work on the first part of our to-do list, which is initializing the position and velocity. So what we want to do in our init shader is essentially figure out first which quadrant we're in. Well, in fact, I don't think this will be too important for the initializing. No, it will be. It will be. And we'll need it later anyway. Because basically, if we're in this first quadrant, we want to be storing the X position. This is the Y position. I've been over this. So yeah, we need to figure out which quadrant we're in. So we can do that with the step function. And I wonder if I should... there's probably a smart way of doing this, but I'm just going to hack it out for the moment and we'll see how we go. So the first quadrant will be when the position is less than 0.5 for both of them. So we want to say float x pos quadrant equals step 0.5 pos.x. And in fact, this will return 1 if pos.x is greater than 1.5. So we want to invert that like that. So we do 1 minus, so that should invert it. And then we also want to make sure that we are less than 0.5 on the y as well. Yeah, something like that, Hearn. We're trying to... We'll see how we go. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but essentially, yeah, we're going to try and do some swarming stuff with particles on the GPU, and do, at the very least, do the updating and the updating on the GPU. The displaying, I still haven't figured out exactly what we're going to do for that yet, but that's a future problem. For the moment, we're just figuring out initializing all the data, and we're storing it in an image using quadrants to store different bits of information, because that way there's a consistent offset between a pixel and its other bits of information. Okay, so the X position quadrant, I believe this is all we need to know. So this will be 1 if the X position is less than 0.5, and this will be 1 if the Y position is less than 0.5. And so then by multiplying them together, we can essentially do an AND. And in fact, I think probably what is better is if we do the float x what I want to do, maybe, because I think I'll be repeating this sort of thing a whole bunch, so I might just extract that and call this, I don't know what to call it. If you got a name, yeah, sort of like a DIY compute shader. I know compute shader would probably be a much smarter way of doing this, but I don't know. This seems more fun to me to like hack my way with images. I don't know. It seems more entertaining. I don't know what to call this though. So essentially this variable will tell me which side of the image I am on. Maybe I call this like is right, because if the X position is greater than 0.5, we're on the right, and then we can say float is top, because in GLSL actually you start in the bottom left and go up with Y, I believe. So then that would mean that is top. Yes, is top is the Y position is greater than 0.5. So then the X position quadrant, you know what? I'm just going to, instead of trying to do this all with maths at the moment, I'm just going to make it very, very simple. So if is right equals 0 and is top equals 0, what we can do is this is the X position quadrant. And then we can basically do the same for the other quadrants, and we can do the initialization based on that. So if right is 1, then we're in the Y position. If is... Oh, hang on. I want is top is 1 for these two. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter as long as I'm consistent across the board. So then is right is 0 and is top is 0 is the X velocity. Oh my gosh. I can never spell. And if these are 1 and 0, yes, then it is the Y velocity. Goodness gracious. Okay, and so these should all be different. So 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. Yes, good. As long as I'm consistent, I don't think it really matters. Okay, so what we essentially want to do is we might need to pass in the resolution of the screen, because for the X position, we want something between 0 and the screen size in the screen width, and then same for the Y with screen height. So I will say uniform vec2 screen res, and so that will get passed in, and we will need a random function as well. And I believe there's quite a few. Let me just try and find one. GLSL. I think they're often called like hash, but random. I think the book of shaders. Oh my gosh, I cannot spell it all. The microphone like directly blocks my view of the keyboard, and I can't quite touch type. Like I get close, but my fingers are a bit sausagey, and so they miss the keys occasionally. Okay, so the book of shaders, by the way, if you're ever trying to learn shader stuff, look at the book of shaders. But essentially what we want is this here function that will just give us a random value between 0 and 1 for a given position. So we're going to yoink that. Thank you, book of shaders. Appreciate it. And we're going to paste it into... Hang on, let me just figure out where we're going. Paste it in here. Very good. I'll just make it a one-line thing because it's a bit neater. Okay, so yes, this is very good. So we can just pass in our actual position vector, and this will return a random vector, a random value between 0 and 1, or pseudo-random, I should rather say. So what we want to do is, if we are in the X position quadrant, then we want to get a random... let's call this xpos just so we know what we're talking about. So the X position will be a random value for our current position multiplied by the screen res X. And that will give us our random value somewhere on the screen in the X position. And then we can set the color, which is the output of this shader, into the packed version of that float. So what this function does is it just takes that floating point value and then gets the bits for it and essentially just rams them into the RGB and A channels and then returns our nice vector 4. And then we can store that in the color. And so then our Y position will be much the same, but we will rather look at the screen resolution's Y component. And we'll put that in there as well. And then for the velocities, I think it will be, for the moment, what I'm going to do, I think, is just use the random value. So it's somewhere between 0 and 1, I think is what I will do. And I'll copy that into the Y velocity as well. And I am not updating these. So this is why if you call it just a value, then you can just copy and paste at will. So I think that's kind of it for the... Why did that fail to save? Okay, it saved it now. I think that's kind of it for the initialization. I will just need to pass in this screen res vector. So in this sketch.js here, so I'm going to update this. I might make this like... I don't know how big to make it. I'll make it 800 by 800. And for the moment, we'll just we'll create our data image to be the same size as the screen. So we'll essentially be able to have however many pixels there are on the screen, we'll have a quarter of that many particles. So we'll call this particle info. And when we are starting up, we'll create a new graphic for it. Create graphics at the width and height that is in WebGL mode. And then what we can do is we can say particle info dot shader is the init shader to begin with. And then in the init shader, we want to set the uniform of the, what did I call it? Screen res, and we want to create a vector with the width and the height. So we can just do that with an array, and that should pass the width and height into the shader. And then to run the shader, we can, firstly, we need to turn off stroke, which I might do up here, because otherwise you get a border when you do this. But we can run the shader by just drawing a rectangle, and it doesn't really matter what size it is either, because my vertex shader handles making it the full screen. This is just the standard vertex shader that I use for anything like this. Okay, so yes, we create a rectangle. We draw a rectangle on that, and then we should get a whole bunch of random stuff in there. And so then if I draw this onto the screen, particle info, and run this, I'm expecting to get errors, but we'll see how we go. Yes. Surely that's not the only error. No, it's not. Error in the shader. Okay, yes, that makes sense. 35. I'm assuming, yes, I've missed something else. Double equals. Oh, I'm not doing the joys of. Oh dear, it's auto running. Yeah, this is something that always annoys me about the online editor for P5JS is when you're doing shader stuff and you've got auto run on, when it errors in the JavaScript, and so it takes you out of your file that you're editing. So if you've got a few things to fix up like this, you'll fix up like 2 of them, and then it'll auto update and then take you out. So I think hopefully, okay, that's not what I was expecting to see, to be honest with you. Let's just make sure that the quadrant thing is working. By instead of doing this, we'll say if we're in the top right quadrant, see, it's done it again. I'm going to turn off the auto refresh. Maybe that's probably the way to do it. Okay, so if we're in that quadrant, we'll make it vec4. We'll make it red. And if we're in this quadrant, we'll make it green. And if we're in this one, we will make it blue. And then in this one, let's make it a nice magenta, shall we? And see what we get. We get a white screen. Oh, don't tell me it's just because I didn't. This error here probably says everything that you need to know. I need to put it in a position for the image to be drawn. So let's run that. Okay, that's what we were expecting. That's good. That's good. So we've got essentially, this is just telling us that we know which quadrant we're inside the shader. So we know when we're at the X position or the Y position or the X velocity or the Y velocity. we know which quadrant we're in, and let's just make sure that they actually line up with what we expect as well. Not that it really matters, because as I said before, if we're being consistent, it doesn't matter. But so the X position should be red, just down here. Oh, I think I flipped the Y position. So what I was saying before about them being flipped is correct, but it's also wrong because got caps lock on. Because I flip it. So is bottom. So I'm gonna do this just so that my own understanding is accurate. Because I think having your mental model in line with what is going on is a good thing. So that should flip the red and green. Yes, cool. So red is the X position. Yes. Y position is green. Good. X velocity is blue. And yes, Y velocity. Sweet. Okay, we're on. So we know which quadrant we're in. So let's remove these colors now that we've oriented ourselves in the image, and we should hopefully see a whole bunch of random colors on the screen when we run this. Okay, so this is interesting. What we're getting here, I believe, is an artifact of this random function. So what I might do, I think a way to combat this would be to multiply this by some random, well, like some arbitrary value. Oh, in fact, you know what? I think this might have been an example of what not to do. Or maybe not. Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, let me go to the noise one, because I'm fairly sure in here they use a more correct one. Those look like the same values. What are they doing when they pass in? Oh, they're just passing it in, but they've multiplied it here. Yeah, okay. So let me try. I think they're the same values, but I'm just going to try updating that. Yeah, okay. So we're definitely getting some artifacts in our random value. We might just ignore that for the moment. How does that sound? This one that I multiplied does look a bit better. Oh, I'm so used to having the auto refresh on. What if I multiply it by like something weird? No, it looks about the same. I guess that's to be expected, but I might just do that for all of them. Just so that we are a bit more random. And you can see that the overall, where the velocity is a slightly different hue from where the positions are, and that's because I'm assuming the scale of these two values is lower, and so when they're packed into the float, they're more in a certain range, and that's why they're slightly yellower versus this top area. Okay, so I think we are getting somewhere. So I think we've at least done the first thing here, which is good. So I'm going to cross this out. We've done that. So now we need to figure out how to get the information out of this image and display it on the screen rather than just putting the image there. That just holds the data, and so we need to extract that data and actually put some particles on the screen. So these question marks here are because I don't know what the best way to do that is. I'm sure that if you use like geometry shaders or something like that, you could extract this information purely on the GPU and create a whole bunch of little circles or whatever and display it that way, which would be probably the most efficient way to do it. I don't know how to do that, so I am going to not do it that way. I'm just going to loop through them and do it that way. I'm just going to update this though. Display the particles somehow like that. Okay, so we are going to do this, and to do this, like I say, I'm just going to do it. Oh, my chat has done this again. Sorry about it. For some reason, the live chat updates really slowly for me. I think my internet is just bad because that's Australia. Um, uh, so Hazel, how are you going? I'm sorry I didn't see this earlier. I don't know why. I don't know how to fix it. I think it's just the nature of living in a country with bad internet. um, and Half, you just made some cute buttons for your game title screen. Title screens are a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun to do. 3 question marks. He means he's really serious about this. I am very seriously going to do it the dodgy way, and that's what the 3 question marks indicate. So what we're going to do, I believe, is we are going to comment that out for the moment, and we're going to do a for I equals 0. I is less than the width on 2, I plus plus, and we'll do the same for the j with the height on 2. Oh, you shared it in the... Oh, sweet. I'll have a look. Showcase. Oh, very nice. I love the wavy text. Here, I'll show it on the... How do I always forget how to do this. Oh, it's hard when it's a video. You can't open it in the browser, I don't think. Can you? No, maybe? I don't know. Maybe I'll figure out how to do that for the next time, because I would like to show that if I can. But yeah, the wiggly text is very nice. Very nice. Spells buckethead. Ah, cool. I was wondering what it meant, because I don't... Is that Japanese? I'm not an expert on these things. But yeah, that's cool. I love the wiggly text. Very nice. Okay, so yeah, what we're doing is we're going to loop through just a quarter of the image. And the reason we can do that is because, again, we are storing a quarter of the information in a quarter of the image. So we only need to loop through a quarter of it because we can just offset from this position to get the other relevant bits of information from the pixels. And in fact, on that note, I think we probably do want to do the pixels array. So yes, we want to load the pixels of our terrain, of our information, and then loop through a quarter of it, and then we will get... and it even stores them individually as integers. So yeah, so we're gonna have to extract the information for each pixel, and then also we're going to have to then convert it back from a bunch of RGB values back into the floating point value. So let's get access to the information first, so we can access the pixels of the thing. And we're gonna have to do this horrible thing as well. Actually, I don't think that's too bad. Anyway, let's start figuring this out. I think I'm getting ahead of myself in what I'm looking at there. So we are looping through the first quarter of the image. First we need to do particle info.load pixels, and that gets us all the information from the GPU. And then we can figure out the index that we need to look at, which is what they're doing here. I think this is more complicated than it needs to be because they're starting at an offset and also they're looking at some pixel density, which I'm going to get around that by saying particle info dot pixel density 1. So that is a non-factor. Oh, cool, Zil. That's so exciting. So one of his best friends is coming, who lives abroad, is coming to visit at the end of the week. That's so exciting. That will be good. I hope you have a great time. Have you got anything planned for when they're there? Okay, so yes, I'm ignoring the pixel density because I've set it to 1 and I'm not doing an offset. So I think this will be actually relatively straightforward. So it'll be 4 times j times the width plus I. Okay, yeah, that was way less horrible than I thought it would be. So this is like the standard thing for going into a one-dimensional array that's holding two-dimensional information. So you can imagine however many rows down we are, and we can imagine it just with these 4 things here. So if we're on this second row, that means, and this is index 1 and this is index 0, it means that to get down to this second row, you've obviously gone across this many things first. So that's why we multiply the j, where are we here, by the width, because however many rows down you are is how many columns across you've gone. And we can add in where we are in the x position, and we're timesing it by 4 because we've got the r, g, b, and a values stored in this array. So I might make a little helper function that will get the, will convert, if I give it an index, it will get the 4 values and convert it to a float and return it to me. So I will do that by doing, what should I call it? Get pixel float value, and it will take in the index and also the image. Oh no, maybe just the pixels array. So in the example, what did it have? So it's red, green, blue, alpha. Okay, cool. Oh. The indentation. I will keep the comment here because that is good. I think so. This is the pixels array rather than that one, because the pixels inbuilt is the is just the one for the canvas that we're drawing onto, not our individual one. So that gets us the 4. No, hang on. This is overriding it. What I want is it the other way around. So we say const r equals that, const g equals that, const b equals that, and then const a equals that. And that should get us our value for each individual pixel. And then what we need to do is essentially we need to do the... this could be actually tricky because I don't know if there's an equivalent int bits to float function in JavaScript. I'll worry about that in a second. I think from memory there is, but I don't know for sure. And was that the unpacking one that I copied? Yes, good. So what we can do is we shift the R, and we don't need to do this bit. So we just shift the R up 24, and we bitwise OR it with the green shifted up 16, and bitwise OR that with the blue shifted up 8, and bitwise OR that with the alpha. And that gives us a single int with all the bits that make up our float in it. And now we need to do the bit where we convert the bits into a float. So I need like a JS bits to float. I've clearly looked at this before. Oh yes, I do remember doing this. So this is for a double which has 8 bytes. I think my chat is possibly doing the thing again where it's not updating for me. I don't know. I need to like refresh it. Okay. Doing board games and cocktails. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Data view get float 32 should do it. Ah, interesting. Okay. What is data view? I've never heard of that before. That's cool. Reads 4 bytes, starting at the specified byte offset. Oh, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, sweet. Oh, that's so much easier. Oh, thank you so much, Hen. How did I not know about that? That is very cool. Okay, so create a, okay. This is good. This is very good. I don't know why I've got this in another tab. I think it's because I wanted to full screen it, but that's getting annoying. Okay, so let's have a look down here. So we want to create an array buffer. I think we only need 4, right? And then we create a data view with that buffer. Oh, and so then can I put stuff into that buffer? Yeah, okay. So I put stuff into that buffer. Yes. Good. So I probably want to do basically this. Where am I? I'm all over the place. So I want to do this, and instead of that, I want to put in the R, G, B, and A. And then I want to get the float. And so when I'm getting the float, 4 bytes specified byte offset. So I'm assuming I want to put in 0 as the byte offset. Do you know if that's true? I don't know how to keep this up to date, this chat. Let me try doing that. I don't know. I would assume that I don't want to have any offset, and I want to return that. I think. I probably don't need these comments given that my variable naming is so good. So we'll do that. Okay. So I think that will do it, and then I don't need this either, do I? RGBA. I don't know. Hopefully that does the trick. And so what I can do then is I can say that let xpos equal get pixel float value for the particle info dot pixels at that given index, and then the y position, let y pos. Oh, is that what I want? Yes, that is what I want. At that y position, it equals the index plus width on 2. Oh, but times 4, doesn't it? Isn't it? Hang on. I probably need to, I need to add in I need to do this in brackets, I think. Okay, and so then that should, I will want to add in width times 2, which is essentially the same as half of the width times 4. And I don't need to bracket that, but I like to bracket things just to be safe. So then what we can do is we can say up here, let's say stroke 0, and then we can say point xpos ypos, and we'll see what we get. We get nothing. Okay, that's disheartening. Disheartening, I would say. I was hoping that we get a whole bunch of points all over the screen. So let's just log. Let's just try this for. Well, I think it's running really slowly as well. Maybe I should start with a smaller image and we can work our way up. We'll start at 400 by 400. But let's just try doing this for the 0 position. Time for some undisheartening. Hopefully we can undishearten this thing. So let's just try. Let's try. The index 0, and then well, firstly I need to do that. Let's see. Hopefully that was the only issue. Missing a bracket. Hopefully that. Oh, the undisheartening was so much faster than I thought it would be. Okay, so that's good. That's really good. That is what I was expecting to see. That is a lot of points. Okay. Okay, so I think it's very slow. It's very, very slow. We'll see what sort of frame rates we get. We could also, what we could do is for our particle information, if we want fewer particles, we could just divide this by like 2 and we should get way fewer particles. Yeah, and that should be faster, but we want to go through then. I'm still looping through the entire width and height. So this should be the particle info dot width on 2 and this on 2. And that should speed it up significantly, I think. And we'll see in the future about creating more particles, but I think maybe, yeah, if we just keep it small for the moment, and we'll go from there. So I think this means that the question marks have been dealt with, and we can cross this one off as well. So which means I can update this thing as well. I can get rid of the 3 question marks. That went remarkably smoother than I thought. I think it will be, as we've already seen, it will scale very poorly. So we'll just keep the particle count low for the moment, and we'll see about optimizing that a bit later. I suspect that there's some GPU wizardry you can do for that, but I'm not going to worry about that from the moment. And now we can look at that's updating, not updating the particles with an exclamation mark, because I'm so enheartened, as you say, Zil. So now the update loop. So the first thing that we're going to have to figure out is from the JavaScript side, getting the shaders, getting the right information into the shader, because essentially it's going to use itself, like it's going to be self-referential almost. So I will need to do that. And then, yeah, so that will be the first thing that we do. And then once we've figured that out, we can use that information from inside the shader to update the positions and velocities. And I think the first thing, as I've got it first on the list, we'll update the positions first because we've already got a velocity in there. So it will just update with whatever velocity it was initialized with. And then this swarm functionality is kind of when we'll get into the updating the velocity to make it swarm around the mouse. But that is for later. For the moment, let's get the shader updating properly so that we've got the update shader working. So I have loaded in the update shader, but it is barren except for this packing and unpacking functions that we looked at earlier. It is empty. So we'll fill that in a moment. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to get the shader working on this. So after we've initialized the particle info, we can actually swap its shader over to the update one. Update shader. Like that. And then I suppose we should do this before we display stuff. So this is displaying particles, and we want to now update the particles. Your phone is 117 days out of date? How does that even happen? How do you do that? 170. What's that? That's like That's like 4 months or something. That's crazy. How did you manage that? I reckon did you ever do the thing? I don't know. This might be outing myself, but you know the game Tiny Tower. Um, and you had like this little tower, and they would have like you'd have different restaurants and stuff on, and like different shops and stuff, and you could game it by just like setting your time because you had to. It was like a classic idle game sort of thing where you do something and then you got to wait for all this stuff to happen. So you could just put your phone forward in time, and then it would all be done. But if you had anything, if you like started something up, and there was a timer still going, and you went back, it would go like anyway. That's the only time I think my phone has been out of date is by messing around with it because I was trying to game idle games. But why do you? How did it get out of date? To I don't think your explanation has explained anything else. You didn't update it, but if you didn't update it, how did it get out of date? Or is it just like you've gone through? You're 117 years old, and so you've lost that much time from daylight savings or something. Oh, do you? I thought so. Sorry. Do you mean it's 117 days out of date in terms of the system updates, or do you mean as in the clock is 117 days out? Because I thought you meant the clock, and I was like, how does that happen? But if okay, that makes much more sense. I think I'm probably way out of date as well. Yeah, okay, no, I'd probably be like years out of date with system updates. Actually, no, that's not true because I think there's like security stuff and stuff that is probably good to update. But 117 days doesn't seem too bad. Maybe it is. I don't know. Okay, so yes, for updating the particles, what we need to do is so our particle information is on this screen, but we need to feed this information into the shader that's updating the things on this screen. So we will probably need to make essentially like a frame buffer thing. So particle, I don't know what to call this, particle info 2, the second. Now let's go Roman numerals, II. And this will hold, it will be the same size as the particle info. Particle info II is create graphics, and it will be the particle info dot width, particle info dot height, and it doesn't need to be WebGL. And particle info II will also have no pixel density 1. I sort of dislike phones as well, Zil. They I from a utility point of view, I think they're brilliant. Like being able to access the internet and stuff in theory is really good. Things like Google Maps and stuff, very handy. But they're also like just a source of instant and infinite procrastination. And I try to not use it. That's why I made myself a little pocket notebook so that I can carry that around instead of my phone most of the time. Right, so we've got this second pixel info. So what we want to do is we want to say pixel info II. We're going to draw the part. Oh, I called that pixel. I think I called it particle info 2, didn't I? Particle info the second will get the first particle info drawn onto it. In fact, I should probably clear this just to make sure that we're good. Data view might not be the best. You might be better loading the whole pixels array into an array buffer and then creating a float 32 array from it. Interesting. I'll look into that in a second. That is a very good thought, re-optimization. I didn't even think about that. Because, yeah, essentially all we're doing is reading in the RGB and A as, yeah. That's smart, Hearn. Very smart. we'll come back to that. We'll circle back to that. And also, I think it's probably horribly inefficient to be creating a new. Like, I could cache these essentially and just update the values in them instead of creating a new one every single frame, or actually not even every frame, like a bajillion times per frame. But we will look at that in a second. I like your thinking though. So yes, we're essentially going to store the particle info on particle info the second, and then we are going to say, what is it? Update shader dot set uniform. Oh, gee, I cannot type. Set uniform, and we'll call this, I don't know. I guess we'll just call it particle information info. Keep it short, and we'll pass in particle info the second. Pass that in, and then we can say particle info dot rect 0, 0, and then the height and width. Again, I don't think this actually matters because my vertex shader should take care of that. There we go. Got there in the end. And I think that's kind of it from the JavaScript side. So what we're doing is we're copying the information of the particles into this second image so that we can pass it into the shader that is then on the first image, and then we run that shader, which should update the particles, except that we're not doing anything in here yet. But we are doing this, so we can cross that off and move on to updating the positions. Okay, and so to do that, we're going to do a very similar thing from in here. I'm just going to yoink all of this across because it figures out which quadrant we're in. And smack that in there. So we know which quadrant we're in. And so this is where the updating thing will be a bit weird because we're in a shader rather than doing things normally. So when we're in this quadrant, we're only updating the X position. So we kind of have to do each component individually. Right, so what we'll need to do is we will read from the texture at our current position, convert that into a float, update it, and then pack it back into the image, and then put it into the image. So to do that, we can say we want to unpack the float, which is the value of the pixels of our particle info at our current position. And I don't think I created the uniform for that. I did not. So uniform sampler 2D particle info. So that will be the image that we're passing in with all the particle info in it. And then we can read that texture at our current position, unpack that float into from the vector 4 of the pixel information into a float, and that gives us our X position. And then we can, essentially we're just packing it straight back into the RGBA values and putting that in the color. But first what we want to do is we want to say, we want to get the X velocity. That's what we want. So float X velocity is a very similar thing, but we want to offset in the Y. So we want to offset in the Y by half the image height. And because the pixel coordinates, the UV coordinates are normalized, half the image is literally just 0.5, and we don't want to offset at all in the X. But so then, this is doing this bit here. So we're at this current pixel, so we know that the equivalent, like the corresponding X velocity for that pixel is literally exactly half the image down. And that's why we can just add 0.5 in the offset to the particle info to get the velocity. Then we can say X pos plus equals the X velocity. And let's do this also for the Y. and just update all of these things accordingly. Like so. And then in terms of updating the X and Y velocity, for the moment, we'll just not update them. So we'll get the velocity, which will be at the current position, and we'll just put that straight back into the image. So we're essentially not touching it, but we have to read from that input texture because otherwise we'll output black, I assume. So yes, do the same for the Y. So now, when we run this, what we're hoping to see is that the pixels will be moving around. So if we get a drum roll, I don't know if you can hear that. It's probably a very annoying sound. And we get an error. That is how it always goes. Line 34. Expected a... But there is one. Do I not have enough brackets? No, I do not. There we go. Hopefully, and then I'll get the same error here. Okay. Okay. Well, that wasn't exactly what I had anticipated, if I'm being quite honest with you. Not what I anticipated at all. Right. What is going on? That is the pertinent question, isn't it? Xpos plus equals velocity. Okay. Don't know. I don't know. Where were we? Update. So, let's see. We're reading the texture at our position, which should give us the X position. And then we're reading the position, the info at an offset to get the X velocity. And we're adding the... Let's just try... Let's just try getting them all moving to the right. And I'm going to comment out this for the moment as well. Okay, so they're doing something. They're certainly doing something, but it's not... It's not what I was expecting to see. I'll be real with you. Yeah, I don't know if you can... Hopefully you can... Wait for it. No, I need to zoom in on the right spot. It kind of looks cool, but it's not... It's not what I was thinking would be happening. Any tips would be much appreciated, because I don't know what is happening. I guess, I mean, there could be a lot of things going wrong with this because this is kind of dodgy code. So, so I was talking about this thing here, how this could screw things up. So if I get rid of that, what happens? Also some weird stuff. Oh, I just saw a reaction. What? How do you... Oh, I think it's more one of these ones. Yeah, for sure. Right. So, I don't really know. I don't really know why this is going so dastardly wrong for me. So at 0.5 it does something. What if I put it at 1? Because it's certain... Okay, so that does something as well. Because when I had it at 0.1... I don't know. It could be... It could very well be that the display code does not actually do what I think it does. That is... Half, are you just spamming the emoji thing? That is quite funny. So what is happening? What is happening? Yeah, I can. Yeah. What is happening? I'm gonna start a poll. I don't know. Never done this before. This will be good. A very very helpful poll. I don't know if I have the ability to change what the emoji reactions are. I think this one is probably the most applicable. Okay, so we're half that something is happening and I don't know what is happening is happening. Right, so I think there's a strong possibility that oh, actually, you know what? If I'm gonna comment that out here, I need to probably do it in both places, don't I? Although I don't know. Theoretically, because we're packing an entire float into the pixel, we should be able to get the entire float value range is pretty big. Yeah. So, I mean, it could be that this is like putting things off screen or something. I don't know. It definitely feels dodgy to have this, but as far as I'm aware, P5JS does some dodgy stuff where alpha sort of gets messed up a little bit somehow. So I need to I don't know what to do about that. Although I think that was I'm not sure when I was finding that out. Do we need to sanity check the values getting set in the init shader are actually readable in the JS? Yeah, that is a very good idea. Yeah, let's do that. So, instead of the X position being random, let's set it to screen res.x on 2. Actually, no, let's just set it. I don't know why I would do that. Let's just set it to the screen res.x and we'll set the Y position to screen res.y. We don't actually need to read the X and Y. We don't need to read the velocities in the JS, so we'll just do these ones. So when we run this, okay, this seems very, very suspicious. Okay, so then when we're doing this, if I equals 0 and j equals 0, then we're going to console.log xpos and ypos. Okay. Let's not update it for the moment. Oh, so we just get the initial value. So the initial value is looking fairly correct. It's a little bit wonky, but it is not like it's got some floating point bits and bobs. I suspect. I wonder if I do this, if that. Okay. So yeah, okay, that's definitely screwing with shit. So we're gonna get rid of that. So that's correct. Oh, I'm zoomed. Oh, I always. every time that I zoom in, I forget to zoom out again. I'm really sorry about that. I need to, like, I don't know, do some practice or something in between streams. But somehow I just always forget. So thank you for, if I ever forget to zoom back out, please just shout at me in the comments. You're adding 0.5 every frame when the range is 0 to 1. Well, so what is happening in the update, and I can remove this, I believe. Oh, what did I just do? So I'm adding 0.5. Where was I doing that? I was adding 0.5. But so this X position, why is this having an error? Line 32. What? Oh, there we go. So this 0.5 here, well, sorry, this X position is, I'm unpacking the floating point value, so it's actually between 0 and the width of the screen, which is 400 in this case. So adding 0.5 in theory should be half a pixel each frame. So these values here are no longer normalized like you would expect in a shader. These are actually in screen pixel values. Because when I'm reading it back out, that's how I'm drawing them in the sketch here. I'm reading them as the actual pixel values. Okay, so our position is correct-ish. Well, no, our position to start with is yeah, sorry, the normalization is unclear because what is happening is it's all in this unpack float function. We're taking the actual values that are normalized in the color from the particle information, and then we're using those bytes, like using the actual bytes of data to convert it into a float. And then, yeah, that's what's happening. So now if we try the update function, so this does appear to be getting the correct values back. So now when we update, this should be going... Okay, so the update is clearly doing something horribly wrong, because this should be going up by 0.5 each frame. And clearly it's not doing that. Right. So, okay, so what in that case could possibly be going on? RGBA, and I believe, where was my pixels array thing? Here. RGBA. So it should still be in the correct order. Okay. Interesting. This is an unfortunate hurdle to be stumbling at. Okay. So our X position starts at 400. It should just go up to... Sorry, someone's doing construction behind just outside my window. Hopefully that doesn't come across too loud. So it starts at 400. It should go up to 400.5. But it doesn't, for some reason. Right. Why does it... There was some very helpful website when I was doing something similar to this a little while ago that showed you could like toggle the bits of a float. Float bit toggle. Was it something like this? It was something like this. I don't think it was exactly this, but it means we can sort of figure out what's going on a little bit. So we had a float that equals 400. Okay. So this should be, the R is up to here, G, B, and A. So if we go up to 400.5, there's one bit that's toggling. So we need to figure out if that how that bit is being if that bit is being toggled. Okay, this is going to be tricky. So what is that bit? That is the 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so this is an index at 0. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. So this should be it getting a bit more blue. Right? R, G, B. Yeah. So it should be getting slightly more blue. So let's have a... I don't know if it'll be detectable. I also kind of want to do... Actually, hang on. Why did this get 408 times? Well, now it didn't even get 401 time. Very suspicious. Why is it not? Oh, so now it's consistent. Maybe it just didn't clear the... So maybe, is it now not getting the correct... Oh, no, it's because I've already updated it. It's already updated. Yeah, okay. So why is it that it can pack it properly when it's at the start? Like when we're initializing, it can pack that fine. Maybe there's something wrong with the... I don't know if you can hear all that drilling going on. Maybe the unpacking is the issue, which it could very well be, to be quite honest with you. No worries, Ill. See you later. I hope that your sleeping attempt is successful, and I will no doubt see you in the Discord very soon. In the meantime, I've got to figure out what is going on here. So the init shader only packs the value, and it seems to do that correctly. But so what we might try and do is cycle through the pack and the unpack before outputting it and see if we still get the same value. So we get that value, and then we're going to say vec for raw equals, or I don't know, x equals pack float x pos, and then we can say that the x pos equals unpack float x, and then we're going to, so that should give us a float back, and then we're going to pack that again. And this should let us know if the unpack is completely wrong or not. So that also seemed to work. Okay, so something else is going on then. Because the pack and the unpack appear to be putting out the right value. Okay, so that appears to be working fine. So I can comment that nonsense out, but I'm going to leave it there just in case. So that gives us 400. Okay, so then when we start updating is when we start getting the craziness. It could definitely be that there's something weird going on here, and maybe what I'm better off doing is doing like a buffer swap sort of situation. So where this is also WebGL, and rather than drawing this image onto it, reassign. Yeah, that's a good idea. That is a very smart idea. Let me undo that then, just to keep things consistent. Okay. That is a very, very good idea. Oh, where are we doing this? Okay, yes. Well, so the Y position is doing that, and that's getting wrecked. Yeah. So there's definitely... So if I don't update... But it doesn't get worse, which is interesting. Like, it doesn't change every time. It's just wrong. So I'm getting the X position and then unpacking it and then putting it straight back in. So this texture... Oh, you know what? This could be... this. If we're like flipped on the... because I flipped the position, so we might be reading the wrong part. Like, this value could genuinely be... Yeah, let me try it. In the init thing, for the X velocity, let's just make this 0.5, and we'll make the Y velocity 0.7. No, okay. So if that had been the case, we would expect to see 0.5 and 0.7 there, wouldn't we? Okay. It's probably good to have these as constant values as well, though, just while we're figuring this stuff out. So this value here just seems like nonsense. I don't know if I can do that. No, I don't want it there. I want it there. So how close is that to... I need to like... Here, I need to do this. Screenshot it at 400. And then if we paste in our value, which is what? That. I don't know if this thing understands ease, but hopefully it does. Okay. All right, I'm going to zoom in, and if I forget to zoom out, shout, please. Okay, that zoom is not helpful. Let me do like this. And try again. Okay, so... How similar... They're really not that... No, they're not similar at all. So there's definitely some weird shit going on. Right, so where were we? We're in the update. We're getting the X... So yeah, I think it might be something cooked with this thing here. So rather than doing that, I'm going to just swap them around instead. So we'll do the same thing. So particle... You know what? I'm just going to copy and paste because that will be much, much better than me trying to type it all out. So just make this on the second one. Oh, zoom. Yes, thank you. Right. Thank you. Saved me much embarrassment there. So we do that. Actually, we might have to do this because we're going to be reusing the same... Oh yeah, I can just leave it as the init shader. But this one here we might have to do down here. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to say const temp. Sorry, there's so much noise outside my window. Hopefully that helps it a bit. Someone's like bashing some shit with a hammer out there. I don't know what's going on. So we want to put our particle info into temp and then const particle info. Isn't the alpha channel highest precedence in OpenGL? Does it matter for how we are packing and unpacking using texture samplers? Well, so the weird thing is when we were using the initialize function, so when we're not updating it, which I can simulate. Oh, actually, I've sort of ruined things to simulate that. When we were just using the initialization function, which is using the packing, and I also tested with the unpacking and packing, it was getting the correct value out, which would be a miracle to me if the value that we just happen to be using 400, yeah, it's not symmetrical in the bits or like in the bytes. So like if they were the other way around, like if it was A RGB instead of RGB A, then we wouldn't have gotten that value out again, but we did. So there's something else going on. And I suspect that there's something weird going on with how the texture is being passed into the shader. I feel like it's somehow destroying some information or doing something weird in that regard. So what I'm going to try and do is, rather than what I was doing, is I was copying the information from the particle information into a second image, and then that image gets passed into the shader. But now instead of copying the actual data across, I'm just going to swap the objects around so that hopefully there's no like weirdness with tampering with the data. So particle info equals particle info 2 and then particle info 2 equals the temp one. And then we do this and we say particle info dot shader is the update shader. And then we probably want to reset the shader after, because we're sharing the shader. I think some weird stuff can happen when you do that. Okay, so that didn't work at all. The shader is being run is attached to a different context. Copy to context. What is that? So I think this is what I was thinking might happen. Trying to use the same shader across two different things. Shader copy to context. Okay, so what are you meant to do? Original copied. Okay, that makes it nice and easy, I think. So rather than doing this, we can do it up here again. So particle info dot shader update shader, and then particle info 2 dot shader update shader dot copy to context particle info. So that should give us 2 copies. Okay. Okay, so that kind of worked. So clearly, though. Oh, of course. So we actually want to. In this case, we actually want to initialize onto the second one. Okay, no. Kind of does make sense that we want to initialize onto the second one. because that is the first one that's going to be passed on, but then we swap it. And we swap it so it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Oh, but then I'm not updating the right shader. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of annoying because I'm going to have to swap shaders as well. So I need an update shader 1 and 2. But that's okay. I think that's okay. So when we do this, we can just say update shader the second equals that, and then we use the second. This is getting a bit ridiculous. I mean, it was already ridiculous to start with, but this is a particularly cooked. So so now we have a second update shader that we're passing in, because what was happening, I believe, is each time we were setting this uniform on just this shader, which is only being used for this actually, you know what? I think there's probably a better way of doing this. I think there is a better way. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to get rid of that. And we're going to say const update equals update shader dot copy to context particle info. So we're always going to create a new one, and then we're going to say particle info dot shader is our newly created update shader, and then when we're setting the uniforms, we set it on this new one, and then we should get an error. Oh, that's not actually an error. Okay, that's just telling me that something is already called update. I don't know, call it update temp. Something like that. Okay, so now we're getting zeros out. Getting zeros out. Okay, so we were expecting 400s, weren't we? Because we're just putting this straight back in. Yeah, so we were expecting 400s in and out. So are we initializing correctly? Oh. Okay, we're getting something different now just from moving that. This is very, very strange stuff going on. Very strange stuff. I don't really fully understand. I don't understand. Right. So clearly that didn't work. So when I move this down, then we just get zeros. So I wonder if I should move that down there. What happens? Nothing. When I move that up, then we get weird numbers. If I move that down, we also get weird numbers. So that seems to sometimes affect it, but also not always, which is interesting. Right. Okay, so that didn't work. Maybe this is a silly idea, and I should do what I did with these ones and do the swappy. Is there an easier way of doing this? Potentially there is. Update shader. Okay, let's move this back up here, and we're going to update shader II equals update shader dot copy to context particle info II. We are indeed doing the swappy half. We're going to do it. Okay, so update shader II, and then const up. We'll call this shader temp equals update shader, and then we say update shader equals update shader II, and then update shader II equals shader temp. This is, I don't like this at all. And then we pass in that, and then we run it. Okay, still the same. Still the same. So I don't understand any of these values. I think there's potentially an easier way of doing all of this rather than doing the swappy. I think I'm gonna undo the swappy. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna say if frame count percent 2 equals 0, and we're gonna do this. And then else, why am I caps locked? Else, we're gonna just invert things. So update shader II, remove the II captain. All right. Now we just get nans. What is going on? What is going on? So if we don't do any updating, let's just, no updating, we get 400s from the initialization shader. Why does it have to be so challenging? You know what I could do? No, I shouldn't do that. What I was going to suggest is I suspect that this is the alpha stuff in P5JS rearing its head again. So basically, what I believe is happening is, so you've got like the red, the green, the blue, and the alpha, right? And so when P5JS sees that the alpha is 0, then it just ignores all this and blanks it out into zeros as well. And so I think basically we lose a whole bunch of information here. What actually, that would be very good to know. If these are all off, I would assume that would just give you 0. Okay. So that doesn't really check out either. No, so this, ignore what I'm saying. But what I was wondering about doing, right, is rather than packing a float into all 4 channels, we ignore the alpha, always set that to 255, or max, or 1, you know, whatever. Max the alpha out. And then we just store a float between 0 and 1. And the way that we get it is we essentially figure out what the maximum 3-byte integer is. Like, what's the maximum value that 3 bytes can store? And then we multiply our float coming in by that maximum value, right? Stay with me. And we then divide it into the 3 bytes, into the RGBA, and then when we read it out, we just add them all together, well, bit shifting them accordingly, and then divide it by the max. And that will return it to a value between 0 and 1. And this way we can ignore the alpha channel because I, I have a hunch that that is doing some dastardly things. It's so sad. We're still stuck here. Yeah, so we might try doing some gross stuff like that. How does that sound? Does that sound good? It does. It doesn't sound good to me, but I'm gonna do it, I think. And I think I might have done this sometime in the past. Let me just have a look. Let me see. Let me see. Maybe. Well, let's just go for it. I'm just gonna do it. So to pack the float, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say that the my indentation is wrong. Value equals clamp value between 0 and 1. Right. And then we're going to times the value by what am I doing? Oh, and actually that should be 256, shouldn't it? Because there's 256 possible values in each byte, and we got 3 bytes. And so we want to get that to the max value. So the maximum value we can hold is that, and so we multiply the value by that. We turn it into an integer, and then we do some bit shifty yuckiness, and we max the alpha out at 1 always, just to try and avoid any sort of shenanigans with the alpha. Okay, so in this case, we want to say int RGB equals int of the value, right? And then we AND this with that, and we shift it down 6. Okay, so this would be better off to be RG, and why have I got caps lock on again? I swear I've got the most sausagey fingers known to man. I need a keyboard that's like twice, each key is like twice as big as normal so that I can hit things properly. Okay, I can get rid of these things here just to make it a bit more clear. Okay, so RGB, we get the first byte of that, shift it down, divide it by 255, and that gives us our, okay. So then what we want to do is we get our value, RGBA is equivalent to this, that's the RGB, and then we want to convert that, let's say float value equals, again, we'll get this max value, is equal to float of the RGB divided by that, and then we can return the value. Okay, this is probably a terrible, awful method of doing this. And then so in the JavaScript, we'll also have to update this. So we get the RGB. We don't care about A. Alpha's gone. Friendship with alpha is over, and we are starting a new friendship with RGB. Okay, so we get the RGB, and then we do this thing again where we are. Where did I do it? Did I do it here? No, I did it in the init. So we did this. We basically want to do the same thing here. So we want to say const RGB. I don't think we all need to do these integer or that. Okay, so we just move that up. And move that up and move that. Okay, so we get that. And then we want to return RGB divided by the 256s. This is if you're a serious programmer, I think you should probably look away. This is not at all pretty. So do we get 400? We get 0. We get 0. Oh, but this gives us a value between 0 and 1. Yes, I forgot about that small detail. So we want to return that times the... Oh, this is going to be annoying because everything's now going to be normalized, isn't it? Oh dear. I don't know what I've done to myself. You know what? Maybe I should return when I'm packing it, value divided by... Oh no, but it depends on which X or Y. Okay, but when I'm this is grotty. I'm gonna do it. Divided by screenres.x divided by screenres.y. Okay, I'm just gonna normalize everything. Y velocity divided by screenres.y. Okay, so that normalizes the values. So they should be in the 0 to 1 range. So we're still getting zeros. That's okay, I think. And then when we're reading it out, xpos times width, and the ypos is times height. We're still getting zeros, which makes sense because there were zeros before. Oh, I don't like it. Okay, so let's see if we GB, if we print these out, what are we getting? Oh, I think it's going to be very, very, very slow doing that. Okay. So 0, 81, 235. Okay, so calculator. Let's get a calculator. So we got 0 in the first byte, so we can ignore that. So 81 times, what would it be? Bit shifting it up, times 256, I guess, plus 235 divided by 256 times 256 equals a very small number, and then times 400. It's half a pixel. Okay, so something clearly deeply wrong is happening here. So when this is 1, which it should be, value is 1, and then we times it by this huge thing. Maybe a float can't handle that. Oh, this is terrible. Okay, I'm just going to put this back to the way it was and hopefully figure out some other way of getting around this roadblock. We might have to completely abandon ship on how I thought this was going to work. Oh, I need to get rid of that console log because that is going to slow things down ridiculously. Oh no. Computer does not like. Okay. I'm going to wait for that to and think about what I'm doing. So, this was a terrible idea. All of this terrible garbage idea. I still think that there's something weird going on with how the images are being swapped around. Like clearly, because we've got one image that has the info, and that gets passed into the shader, which then outputs some more info onto a different screen. I wonder, this might be crazy, but I wonder if I can draw to the same image that is being put into the shader. I guess it's worth a shot once this is finally decided to finish. Oh gosh. Oh golly gosh. In which case we can put all of this back to the way it was. Oh no, I've got auto refresh on as well. That's not good. Control Z until we get back to where we are. Hopefully there's enough undo history to get back to where we were. Yeah, it's looking good. Cool. Okay, so if we run this, what do we get? We should get the 400 out again, hopefully. Hello. Is it working? I don't think it's... Something ain't going right. Something ain't going right. Okay. Let's see. Why is it? Oh. Maybe I need to refresh. I think I've managed to crash the tab, I think. So that's always a good sign. That means you're doing something right in JavaScript, doesn't it? Ay. Okay, where are we? What's going on? Okay, so there's some issue. A is not defined. Oh, I think I was doing some other weird stuff in here, wasn't I? Yes. A is not defined. Oh, I didn't undo far enough. That's all. There we go. But I also need to undo the normalization that I put in. Okay, yeah. So then I will try just passing the image into the shader that's also drawing to itself, and we'll see what happens. Who knows? Maybe that will work. I think that might be copium, but it might work. Okay, so we're back to getting the 400s out from the initialization shader. So that is good. Then what we want to do is, oopsie daisy. Yeah, copy that, paste that here. Oh. And we just want to put the particle info into the shader that's drawing onto itself. I don't know. I don't know what is happening. Because it's definitely not the velocity that we're reading, because we are hard coding them. And we can hard code them in such a way that... How do I get like... What's 0.5? Okay, so what would that be? 1, 3, 7, 15. 31, 63. So okay, so I'm gonna hard code these to be vec4 0 0 0 0. I'm gonna hard code them to be what I expect 0.5 should be when it's packed. So 0.5, so that was in the red, should be 63 out of 255. Or is it out of 256? I never know whether to use 255 or 256 in these scenarios. I don't know. I'm going to put it as 255 and we will see. I'm going to do the same thing here. So we got the same value. So what would happen then if I were to read so it is 0 index, but I don't know the bit value is also 0 indexed, I suppose, because if you have none of the bits on, it's 255. And the maximum value that it can show is 255. But there are 256 values when you include 0. I don't know. It's confusing. Okay, so let me see if we can get the velocities. Just for peace of mind. Get pixel float value particle. Oh, I just realized that with that swappy stuff we were doing, I wasn't updating this at all. So maybe, oh no, I don't want to have to retest all that stuff though. Index plus, okay, I'm gonna create this thing that lets me get the index based on the X and Y. Pixel array index for an X and a Y. And that is like, no, not like that, like that. And then we can return that. And so instead of doing this nasty stuff, we can say, I'm just going to call that pixel index to make it nice and short. So we can say pixel index ij, and then this would be pixel index I plus width on 2, no, plus this width on 2, j. And so then the x velocity would be pixel index ij plus that nonsense, but in the height. And so now if we print out the x velocity, what do we get? It is not printing anything for some reason. Oh, it's because I'm not actually putting it in the print bit. X velocity 0. Interesting. Okay. Let's go back to packing the float. This is not going how I wanted it all to go. I wanted this. I thought this would be the easy bit, to be honest with you. Because we're offsetting by half the height. Okay, let's try. So I'm still updating. So let's get rid of the update and just see if the value is correct. 0. No. Okay. So this is not... There could definitely be something going wrong here. So maybe we do need to try something different from this data view thing. From... Okay, okay. What? So, interest. Okay, so I think we can. I think. I don't know. I don't know what any of this means. It's very esoteric. So I think we can use some weird buffer wizardry to turn... I think it's very similar to what we were doing with the data view. Uint 8 to array buffer to float 32 array. Well, so they're... Looks like they're initializing an array buffer. And then using that... Oh, they're sharing that buffer in both of these. So when you put a value in one of them, it updates it in the other. And then you just read from the one you want. Is that right? Okay. Okay, so Hearn, you're saying create an array buffer, create a uint 8 array from it, and also a float 32 array. Load data into the U8 and read. Yeah, okay, cool. That's what I eventually I got there. This is cursed. Yes, this is very 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 cursed. So the buffer is a new array buffer. So I should probably make this global so that I don't have to keep reinitializing it. So the buffer is a new array buffer. Is that the syntax? No, I want to put in how many I want. So I want 4 items in it, and then we want our uint buffer to be a new uint 8 array from the buffer. And then we want, I'm just going to call this ints and floats equals a new float 32 array using our buffer. Okay, so then what you're saying is that we should be able to say dearie me. Copy and paste is my friend. 2, 3, B, A. And then we can read the return. Is that? No. I need to look at this some more. Did I? Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. It's still wrong, but wrong different. Wrong different is still progress. Wrong different is still progress. Am I doing something wrong? Almost certainly. UN32 array from something. Ugh. That's crazy that these are the same. Inputs into the UN slots and return float zero. I'm trying that and it ain't working. Okay, so what is... I'm going to comment that out, and we're just going to console.log. Well, so Nick, what I've got is in the pixel data, I have the position of a particle or its velocity encoded, because each color channel in the image stores a single byte. So you only have 256 possible values in each one. So it's not enough really to store information in. So what you can do instead is pack a float across those 4 bytes so that you actually store an entire float in a single pixel. And we're doing that in the shader. And inside the shader, these pack and unpack appear to be working fine. But in the sketch, in order to draw the pixel onto the screen, or the particle rather, I need to extract that information from the pixel information. Do you know what I'm just now remembering? I've been meaning to look into this for a very long time. Do you see that? Do you see that? Format can be a floating point texture, but I don't know if you can. We might be onto something here. Yeah, so I think you are able to set texture formats, but it's really, I've tried to do it a bunch of times and it's really a pain in the ass. To be quite frank, I think it's because P5JS, they try to abstract you away from all this stuff as much as possible, because it's not really, I don't think it's really meant for this sort of hacky shit. And so actually accessing the bit where you change the texture format is really buried deep in the source code. But if I can use a floating point texture, then I would each pixel could be an entire particle's information, which would also be very cool. I don't know if you can read the pixels from this though. I might be so very wrong. Updating pixels via this property is slower than drawing to the frame buffer directly. Consider. But are the pixels floats as well? This is what I must know. So this is I think I have looked into this in the past. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Is there like a frame buffer example? No, I don't want the reference. I want an example. That's using the... So I think it was originally a library that then got turned into a part of P5JS. Let's have a look at this. What's this? No, okay. I guess we just got to try it out for ourselves. Maybe I should create a new... This is going on a big old tangent. Buffer test. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to find out if we can draw with a shader on the frame buffer using a floating point value and then read that from the JavaScript also as the floating point. So we want to say buffer equals create frame buffer. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this. No. Am I? I don't know. So can you create a frame buffer? Okay, so they won't automatically match. Okay, cool. So I think I can say create frame buffer, and then in the options, pass in some option. Options. That's very small, but okay, we'll put it at 200 by 200, and we'll say that the format is float. Is that correct? Format float. Center anti-alias width height. Text. Okay, so we've got I think this means we've got a floating point texture. I don't know. Floating point. Okay, buffer, and then how do we draw on it? Begin, and then you just do the stuff, and then you end. So how do you draw with a shader on the? How do you use a shader on it? Blur. Okay, that sounds like it. Yes. Okay, shader. Cool. Good. This is good. Create canvas. Okay, so the canvas has to be in WebGL. Can I, if I have a graphics equals create graphics 200 WebGL. Can I then say buffer equals graphics dot create frame buffer? I think so. I feel like if you set the texture to a float, it will just accept RGBA 0 to 1 instead of 0 to 255. So yeah, I think that is hopefully the point. And then I don't know. Programmer Brainrot is watching this and the first Hyperbolica devlog at the same time. Dude, Hyperbolica is trippy as. Okay. Where are we going? Create frame buffer. And we've got a shader. So then... So is this layer begin? But so it's blurring after, and it's just passing in the information from the. Because I want to run the shader on the frame buffer object. We might have to get into the source code. Yeah, I think even if it is 0 to 1, that should be good, but I need to find out if I can... I need to find out if I can run a shader on the frame buffer. So if I go... so in that case, I need to... And then create another file shader.frag. And then I'm going to copy this into the vert, and then copy that into the, and just get rid of everything that is unnecessary, which is most of it. And just do the classic equals something like that. And then we can let my shader function preload. Okay, sorry, there's a lot of chat going on. So if I'm reading the docs right, once you activate a frame buffer with begin, then using a shader would be the same as though you used it on the root canvas or its parent pgraphics object. So, yeah, I'm just going to test this out. Is that what you do? Begin and end? Is that correct? Begin, end. Okay. So, have all the drawing functions in the main canvas. Drawing instructions meant for the frame buffer. Okay, cool. Excellent. Good. So can I say buffer.shader, my shader, and so then afterwards we do image buffer 0, 0, hopefully. And so we say rect 0, 0 buffer dot width buffer dot height. No, it does not. It does not like. I thought it said. What's this? What's this? Is that not what I'm doing? Is that not what I'm doing? I'm afraid to ask, but why not just use a uniform of an array of floats or whatever? Well, because then, I mean, I guess you could use your position to. Oh, then, because then, well, so the whole reason I'm doing this is to try and speed up the updating of particles by using the GPU to update a whole bunch at once rather than going sequentially through an array. So if I was to pass in a uniform of floats, I would have to, the output, because this is not a compute shader and is instead just a fragment shader, the output is still going to be pixels on an image. So I need to somehow read that output back on the JavaScript side. So unfortunately, I can't do that because I'm doing something silly. Essentially, this is all very silly. All of this doesn't make sense. If you actually seriously want to do this, you would just use compute shaders. But I am trying to do it a silly way because I find that enjoyable. So yeah, that's basically the long and short of it. Oh, frame buffer has a lowercase. Maybe that's, yeah, okay, that might be the issue. So then do I have to put the shader on the graphics object? Error in here. Oh yeah, that is an error. Okay. Cannot read properties of undefined. Okay. So that must have to be graphics and graphics. Oh, because I don't actually. No, I do store that. Line 33. Oh, this must have to be graphics as well. Okay, so that, okay, hang on. P5 frame buffer objects have all the drawing features of the main canvas. Drawing instructions meant for the frame buffer must be placed between calls to mybuffer.begin and mybuffer.end. So can I do it here? I did accidentally type it wrong. Am I not? This is okay. This is very confusing to me. Because this buffer has been created from this graphics object, which is in WebGL mode. Do I have to do like this? And then why is it not colorful like I would expect? This is awfully confusing. Awfully confusing. Oh, so I would have to do. Hang on, where were we? Buffer.color. No. Create canvas. Create frame buffer. And Nick, sorry, I don't know if that message was hugely delayed in getting to me, but only just updated. So basically the only output from the fragment shader, let me get up a nice little diagram. So in a fragment shader, let's frag, the only thing that comes out the other end to the CPU side is a picture with the pixel information. So you have all the color information. From the CPU, you can pass into it. Yeah, you can pass in an array of values. But you can't mutate, like you can't change that array of values inside the fragment shader. So a uniform is like a static thing. You can't, or like a constant. It's, read only. So even if I passed in a whole bunch of pixel or particle information into the shader, it's read only. There are things called shader storage buffer objects, which you can manipulate from. So you can do things like adding and that sort of stuff, and you can pass in like a big array, and you could change the values from inside the. So it's like Compute Shader Lite, and maybe that's what I should be doing potentially. So there are ways of doing that, and so then you can read and write from the CPU and from the GPU into that buffer object. But traditionally, in a normal fragment shader, the only output are the pixel values and the image, which is what I'm trying to do, which is not working. So maybe instead of messing around with all of this, I should just be trying to do buffer object. Does it exist in WebGL? That's the question. Oh, are they literally trying to do exactly what I am trying to do? It's getting real late. It's approaching midday. My current implementation updates the positions in JavaScript and then codes them into. What I want to do, update the position. No, I don't think. Okay. Yeah, I think realistically, I just want a compute shader. I don't know if that is a thing. Oh look, it's me. I don't think that's really a thing. But so I think, Nick, the problem that we're currently having with this, no, that's the wrong one. With what we had going on is actually reading the pixel value back from the shader. I think. I don't know what we're actually printing out right now. I'm console logging nothing. Oh yeah, so I was going to get pixel float value for particle info dot pixels at the pixel index 0, 0. Is that not enough? No, that is not enough. Which should be 400, I believe. Let me see. So I can't type that. And it's not 400. Okay. So in our net, what are we putting in? We are packing the screen resolution. Yeah, so I think basically what I'm trying to do is just too stupid to even be attempted. I think I should just be using a compute shader, and maybe I should figure out how to do that in WebGL. Because I think that essentially all that I wanted, but I thought it would be cool to do this thing here with the different regions of the image, and then you could look at the image and see the data for that image. I just thought it would be cool, but unfortunately, we are not making progress. So the X position should just be 400. No, it should be 200. It should be 200. Oh, because I'm passing in. Oh no, it should be 400. It should be 400. That should be 400. And then in the sketch, I'm clearly not able to read the pixel information properly. I don't think our buffer solution is working. Maybe I should check a different way. Let me do this. So we want to put into our ints. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm going to try do now. I did have open that float bit toggle thing. This was not that. Float toy. Yeah, this is what I had. So what I want to do is I want to pass in some value that is known. So 0.5. Oh yeah, we did this before. So I think what I want to try, if this equals 63, and then int 1 equals 0, I think the rest of these are just zeroed out. Is that right? Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. And then if we read from floats, 0. If we just test that, what happens? Okay, so that definitely didn't work. I wonder if maybe this is like a little versus big endian thing. A, B, G, R. Do that. Ah, okay. That helped. That helped. So that, yes, it is back to front. So if I do 0, the test should now put out 0.5. Yes, good. Okay. Progress. Progress. Comment that out. So we needed to flip the bits upside down inside the... Okay. And so now if we run this, the velocity is still 0 though, which concerns me. Concerns me greatly. Why would that be 0? Am I initializing it to 0? I don't know. X velocity is being initialized to 0.5. Which, as we just saw, is supposed to work. I wonder if so 0. The step now. Okay, the step function. You know what I might do is I might do... No, it should be... I wonder if this... okay, what I am going to do... I wonder if our image is 1 pixel off or something. No, but then it would be 400. What I was wondering is if when I'm offsetting in the X in the Y direction to get the X velocity, if I was actually offsetting to here, like just above the border. But I don't think that's the case. What I am going to do though is just to make sure when I'm putting in the Y position, rather than put in the screen res on, I'm going to divide this by 2 and see if that gets us 200. Yes. So that works. The X and Y positions seem to work. But the velocity, for some reason, really doesn't seem to want to work. I'm wondering if this is bottom is screwing up somehow. So, like, what if I did... oh no, because I'm doing it for every... So the velocity, there's definitely something going wrong with the velocity, reading the velocity. But the X and Y coordinates seem to be working. Let me just offset this to be like... Oh, not 0, 0. 10, 10. Just so we're not in the very corner. No, okay. Because I was wondering if it was, yeah, offsetting weird, but I don't think... I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And this is annoying me. Annoying me greatly. But the velocity somehow we're reading as 0. I don't know if that matters. If index equals 0, I want to print RGBA. I can look at the texture, but it's going to be possibly very annoying, but I can do that. So I won't do that, and I will do image particle info. Sorry, I meant annoying as in difficult to see. Right, something bigger, interval velocity. That's a good idea. I'll put this x as 10 and the y as 60. Don't know why. Why did that not like that? Oh, I didn't put the full stops. Okay, so no, that's still not liking it. And sorry, what was I've already forgotten what I was already printing. Okay, yeah, the RGBA. Okay. Let me. So the particle info is half the size, so I should blow this up to the full width and height. Write something bigger into velocity. Yeah. Make the texture maybe 32 by 32. I could do that. But yeah, let's do that. So that should be 32 by 32. I also want to do no smooth. And then run that. Okay, so when I did that, it now is not getting anything in the X and Y. Yeah, let me just comment out the RGB. Well, actually, so hang on. Let's see what I was doing. 0, 0. Okay. And then if index equals, what's my function called? Pixel index at 10, 10. That's somehow gone out of bounds? That seems wrong, because it should be 32 by 32. Weird. So right at the start, Nick, we already did the quadrants being different colors, but maybe we should do it again at this smaller resolution to make sure that the borders line up with how I would expect. But I did do that step at the very least. So this was, you know what, I'm just going to do like, keep it simple. Oh no, that was the velocity. Good. So velocity will be the lightest. This will be next light. Oh, that will, no, darkest, sorry. Why is it so bright? I would have thought that would be black. Okay, there's clearly something going on. Oh, because of the alpha as well. Alpha. Yeah, okay. That's okay. What I will do in that instance is make the background 0. Okay. Oh, that's way better. Okay. Way better. Okay, so we can probably go back to doing this. In this case, because they are seemingly distinct. Okay, so they're definitely distinct. The question is, if we, so we're at 32 by 32. If we go to like 4 by 4, Still get a pixel of each. About 2 by 2. Yeah, okay. So it seems like the layers are lining up how I would expect. And this is what I don't understand is we're getting the position correctly. Yeah, I'm going to do this again as well. Just to make sure. Because we're putting the... I don't think it's a GPU side issue. Because when I take the float in and out of the packing and unpacking, we still get the same output. So I think that side of things is all good. So then when we get I don't know. This might have to be something that I will look into in the future. That's a shame. I was hoping that this swarm I really thought that this wouldn't be the difficult bit. I thought this would be the easy bit. We did. The weird thing is, so from the here, I'm going to put the displaying code back. And put this back to white. Because originally... Oh yeah, and originally we had stuff going on that was good. It was good. So yeah, if I put this back to random, we had pixels all over, we had points all over the screen, and I thought we were going so well, but then just trying to update it, for some reason when we try and update it, it all just falls apart. And we run out. See, like, we've got the pixels. We got the pixels, but it's just the updating for some reason when we try and update it. But for some reason also the velocity is 0, which doesn't make sense to me. But I guess we don't need to access that from here. Maybe what if I try and minus it? No. Okay. I think I might call it here for today. And I will have to see about trying to make this work in the future. Because this has been very frustrating trying to get this all working. I think the annoying thing is, I thought like these steps were all going so well. Xvel isn't. Oh no, these are the actual RGBA values. Sorry, I commented out these. So I think the velocity is actually still 0. Let's see. Yeah, I thought we were going so well, but apparently not. Well, so the thing was, I was going to put the mouse position into the shader, so it wouldn't even be deterministic like that, because it would be dependent on the mouse position. But we didn't even get that far. How sad. Like these ones, I honestly thought that the displaying bit would be hard. That's why there were so many question marks, but we managed to do that really quickly, and then it turned out to be here that we stumble. But I had a false sense of confidence because this and this seemed to go so well. But it just wasn't to be. Just wasn't to be. I wonder... Okay, I'm going to try one last thing before I call it quits. So I think... Here's what I'm going to do. what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and yoink the pixels array from try and put the pixels array from the particle info 1 into particle info 2. And see what happens. So particle info ii dot pixels equals particle info dot pixels, and then I think I go particle info ii dot update pixels. Okay. Now what's my update doing? My update is just putting it back. Okay, so if I do that, nothing happens. But if I put the y velocity at 0.5. Okay. No, it didn't work. It didn't work. Last ditch effort. I thought we might have been cooking then. But we were not. We were in fact not cooking at all. I think we were burning. Yeah. Okay. Oh no. Jeez. Yeah. Okay. No. Forget. Ignore everything. Ignore everything. So hang on. If this was, would did that? So something, the update, there's just, did I load pixels first? I load, oh no, not the first time. No, you're very right. So I might put a load pixels up here. Oh, don't get my hopes up like this. We'll keep this at 0.5. No, okay. What if I make it 1? A nice round number. No. Okay. You shouldn't get my hopes up like that. It's a nasty thing to do. Alright, I think I need to percolate on this and maybe try and come up with something different to do for the challenge, because this clearly is not working. I appreciate all the effort. I appreciate all the effort you guys have put in to try and help me, but it just wasn't meant to be. So I might have to figure out how to do compute shaders, because I think that, like, obviously that's just the way. Why is futzing with Y screwing up X? Your guess is as good as mine. I honestly have no idea at all. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Because so, like, right now, it is technically updating. We're just not doing anything in the update. We're just, like, unpacking and repacking it. And that seems to be all good. But then as soon as you do this, all hell breaks loose for some reason. And it just shits the bed. I don't know why. Everything just, for some reason the velocity just doesn't exist ever. But adding 1 here, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. So I think clearly the programming GPU gods don't want me to do this. It must be, it's too cursed of an idea. Too cursed. So we are going to scrap all of this, I think. And I will try something else for the Discord challenge, because this has got the big cross on it. I do thank you all for coming along for this very, in the end, unfruitful ride. I'll look into doing it with compute shaders maybe, but hopefully the challenge I'll still be able to make something for it. If you want to get involved in the challenge, there's the Discord. I think everyone in the chat is already on the Discord, but Discord is linked below, and there is a challenge channel where you can see what the challenge topic is and submit your thing. It's very casual, so it's just like, yeah. The unpacked float is definitely not a real float. Which don't get my hopes up. But what are you talking about? The YPOS one? It is a real float. It's real. Because when it's not being updated, it manages to unpack it and then repack it fine because these are staying constant. Let me try like... Okay, there's definitely... I think there's... I don't know what it is. It's too cursed. The GPU gods don't like it. It's too cursed. I'm going to leave it and I'm going to figure out how to use a compute shader. That's what I'm going to do. And if you want to see the progress of that, probably jump on the Discord is where I'll post it. So yeah, but for the moment, I think I need lunch. Need food. Yeah, I imagine, Nick, if the adding and then packing it is the problem, I would suspect the pack float is the issue. But I don't know. Nice. Unpack, garbage, repack. Nice. Oh, I see what you mean. But so, but that doesn't make sense to me either because the init function we passed in nice. See, look here, if I do this. We pass in nice and it packs it fine. But if I do this, oh, actually, this should be a good test. This should be a very good test. Because the packing clearly works nicely. So whatever is in this instance, whatever is here is getting packed correctly and we're getting it out again. So if there was garbage going into the pack float, I would expect it to pack it to be garbage on the output here as well. And if I do this should be interesting. Let's try like 401. Yeah, okay, so that still works. So if I do pack float xpos, oh dear, take the auto refresh off. So pack float xpos, and then if I unpack float, hang on, let me get my brackets straight. So that packs it, that unpacks it, and then we add one here. Will I get 401 out? Yeah. So and this packing and unpacking, I hope to God, is the same across both files. So we get 401. So this should... Okay, so now it only touches the X for some reason. But yeah, so I don't know what is going on. I need to just leave it. I'm gonna go and have some lunch. I'm gonna think about my life and what I've been doing with it for the last 3 hours, and then I will probably tomorrow or at some later date have a crack at compute shaders because that's what they're made for. They're made for doing exactly this thing. So I'm gonna ignore all of what I've been trying to do today and just pretend it never happened. I'm gonna delete the stream, and no one has to know. And I'll gaslight you in the Discord if you try and tell me otherwise. On that note, I will leave you all to the rest of your days. Thanks for hanging out. I'm sorry that this didn't turn out to be as interesting as I was hoping it would be, but that's just how it goes sometimes. I'll still do the swarm challenge. I'll just have to figure out something else maybe. All right. I will see you all later. Goodbye. I got to figure out every time I forget how to turn off the stream, but I think I got it. All right. Bye.